is a bright Monday morning in the southwest region, Buea to be precise, and we are at the residence of the paramount ruler of Buea, Mukunda, a village in Buea town. Now, directly behind me, we are going to be visiting this man who will be telling us his take when it comes to youth and culture. What is the relationship? We have a lot of things we are going to be unraveling as we move into the paramount ruler of Buea, the residence. We call him the Nalium of the Bakweris, Dr. Robert Isukambila Endeley, and he will be hosting us this morning. Now, let's take a ride into his residence. Ladies and gentlemen, this time around, like I told you, we are in the residence of the paramount ruler of Buea, Dr. Robert Isukambila Endeley's palace. And this time around, we shall be talking about the relationship between youth, culture, and their activities. Now, this custodian of the traditions of the Bakweris is going to be talking to us and shall be elaborating on some issues. But remember, those who brought this before you. I must tell you, the United Front for Youth Empowerment and Elephants Info have collaborated to bring this to your doorsteps. So ladies and gentlemen, stay there because Ekemanjoku shall be taking you on this speedy ride. Do not touch the dial.
Ironi weli wana wabako imenjoku yonde weli nyama ya ru irokato wongo wanje baramute moa welo bako
mba naliumungaka njamuki yemalilie engene ya ay alengi na welimo mba
Irondi weli wana wabako imenjoku yonde weli nyama ya ru irokato wongo wanje baramute moa welo bako Imirondi weli wana wabako imirondi kulinjo kujare wanga irokato wongo wanje baramote moa velo bako Jondo tembe ngobo jobili engula manja wone baramote wondi wajongea.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It is a bright Monday in Buea, the town of legendary hospitality, and we are in Mukunda, the capital, where we have the paramount ruler of Buea. Now, we are in the inner bowl of his palace, and we are going to be looking at some very, very pertinent issues which are related to culture and youth. So, I'll be introducing him, and so many of you, I'm sure you've heard the name, you've seen him, but this time around he's coming in as a different person to talk to us about the youth, and he's going to be relating it to the Mbando, which is coming up this year. He is called Dr. Robert Isukambila Endeley, the paramount ruler of Buea, Nalium. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Manjoku.
The first question is, so many persons are wondering why the title Nalium. They don't understand that name, and I would like us to begin with that question.
Well, the name Nalium, I wasn't the one who invented it. Actually, it was the kingmakers and the elders of the town of Buea who actually blessed me, they baptized me with that name during my coronation. Naliomo is from the word liome, which in Bakwe means 10, and then Naliomo means the ruler of all the 10 original villages in Bakwe land. Originally, there were 10 villages, started from Buea, Okpango, Unakanda. Those were the three that came first. Buea came, then Unakanda. By Nakande, when Nakande came, they told him that Buea was already here, so you go a little further. That's where he formed Bonakanda. Okay. And then Mimbia, which was the original name of Bokwango, they came after. And there were 7 others that came, Lisoka. And so Naliomo was the person who ruled above all those 10 original villages. There are many more now, as you know.
Thank you very much for that elaborate explanation to that name. I'm sure a lot of us are going to be learning from that. Now, we are going to be looking at the importance of youth and their participation in cultural activities. You, as one of those persons who is championing the revival of Mbando, because from last year we saw how enthusiastic many persons were and the turnout which they gave from Limbe to Muyuka, Idinao. How can you relate it? You look at the history of Mbando. How is it? What's the relevance of Mbando to the southwest, the tribe itself, and Cameroon?
Okay, let's start from the tribe. Mbando again is not something new for Bakri people. Bakri people, if you have a problem in your family, you go to your family grave, you go to your grandfather's grave and grandmother's grave and pour libation and ask for help from your grandfather or your father. But if it's an issue that affects the village, the entire village, you don't go to an individual's grave. That's where the Mbando comes in. The Mbando is the sacred place in the village where all the strong medicine men and the good thinkers of the village, well-wishers, have put there's a shrine in the village where they come and they do libation there to, if for example there's a plague in the village, say there's coronavirus that is killing people in the village, that's where the Mbando comes in. It helps to dispel plagues, diseases in the village, or even ill luck. There are times in the village where we've seen mass arrests of children without, or stealing, rampant stealing in the village. When you have general illness or ailment in the village, that's where you go to Mbando. So each village in Bakri land had their own Mbando. We in Buea, we had our own. Mbando is still there. Opango, they had their own. Obai, they had their own. But what the ancestors wanted, and they have this written down, was that instead of each village having its own Mbando, can we have a federal Mbando, which means all the villages come and put one Mbando together. So if all Bakri people are having a common issue, we don't go to village to village to village. We go to a Mbando that unites all the villages and solve it there. Right now, there's a lot of talk about land, selling of land, and this and that and that. That's where the Mbando comes in. The Mbando is a place we go there and make a libation for peace affecting all the tribes of Fako. So that's the reason, that's the blessing of the Mbando to the tribe itself. Now, the Mbando has two parts. That's the spiritual part of the Mbando. There's also a cultural and animation part, which is where it brings everybody together from different parts of the world to come and celebrate the culture of the Fako man. This one is a matter of solidarity and bringing people together so that we can share a common plan and vision together. Right now, the big vision we have is to build a big multipurpose center, like our sisters and brothers have done in other areas, where we'll have a library. So if I die tomorrow, I don't want my crown to end in my house. My crown needs to be put in a glass box with my name on it, so that children who are coming, they'll say, this is the crown that Chief Endeley wore. That will be in a cultural museum in library. I have artifacts in my house that you can only find them in my house. And if I'm not home, you can see them. We want a place where we can build a library of Bakri architecture, Bakri literature, and Bakri artifacts. So you can always go there and see things that you've not seen before. I have things in my house that I only found in my house. But if I lock my house, you'll not see it. But we need a general place, and that's why we want to build a multipurpose center that meets to that demand. And for the country itself, when people come together, especially as we are coming out of a crisis situation in Northwest and Southwest, bringing people together from all over the world for a common purpose of progress and development is just beneficial to Cameroon. So those are the three different stratas in which the Mbando plays a big role in moving community and society forward.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's look at now the youth. What role can the youths play in this Mbando? Because we have various angles. We have the elderly, we have the women, we have the youth, we have the men. How can the youth, what role can they play?
They always say that if you want to kill a tribe, kill its youth. If you kill the youth of any tribe, that's the end of the tribe. Whenever I go out and I see a traditional dance being performed and I don't see younger people in it, I know that's the end of that dance. So for us, the people of Fako, bringing the youth into the Mbando is just critical for the survival of the future of the Mbando. The youth can play several roles. First of all, if you are a member of any of our cult societies like Nganya or Malay, or I think the only exception is the Basinjong, you always enter there as a youth.
Yeah.
You always enter there as a youth. It's the youth that keep those cult dances going to today, because as the older ones are phasing out, the younger ones are coming. What we see, but we really believes in bringing the youth up in that dimension. So for Mbando, even the organization of Mbando, we want the youth to be involved at the level of preparation of organization of Mbando. We want the youth to be involved in cultural animation, in dance groups, performances. We want the youth to be involved in the races. We run a mini marathon for the Mbando. We want the youth to be involved in canoe races that will be performed in Limbe. So they play a strategic role. Without them, there will be no race. Without them, there will be no canoe race. Without them, there will be no cultural animation organization, people putting up canopies, the call dances. So the youth is critical for the survival of the Fakoman.
Now, let's talk a little out of that cultural aspect. If those, you spoke about Nganya, you spoke about the cultural dances. Now, you've also spoken about the aspect of those who can come in and work here as supporting in the logistics and all the others. Now, the other youth who are not around, those who are not into these cultural dances, what role can they play now?
So our culture, we often make the mistake of thinking that culture is just a dance. Culture is not a dance. Our culture is how we treat women. Our culture is how we tell stories in Bakuri. Our culture is how we build our Bakuri houses. Our culture is how the Bakuri man farms. Our culture is how the Bakuri man cooks. Our culture goes beyond a traditional dance. Yes, right. It's very unfortunate that in Africa, when a big man is coming from one man country, they line up people at the airport to dance for them half naked and say that's their culture. Our culture is beyond that. And people need to know that. And so when you're coming in, if you don't partake in a cultural dance, you can be a literature person. You can come and write poems in Bakuri. There's a young man in England who writes poems in English and Bakuri. Molangale.
Yes.
And he's very famous in that.
Yes.
So there are different dimensions where you can come. You can come in as a musician, as an artist, to come and sing songs in Bakuri or even translate songs in Bakuri. You can come in as a designer. We have our Fako fabric. You can come in as a couturier and show us different ways in which you can design our clothes. So there are different dimensions where youths can come and play strategic roles, even in teaching of the language. Youths can do that. Dancing competition, they can show us their new dance moves.
How can these cultural events shape the identity, the values, and most importantly, preserve the heritage for the future generations?
I have a friend in Denmark who told me that no culture in this world will ever develop using another man's language. If you want to take your culture to full civilization, you cannot do it using the language of another person. So one of the things Mbando is doing is fostering our language. We are blessed in Fako to have quite a number of languages. We have Mongo, we have Mokwe, we have Liru, we have Ewota, we have Omboko.
That's right.
Those are about 4 or 5 different languages that we have. So we're exposing in the Mbando, we even have the balloons. In the last Mbando you watched, there were about 4 MCs on stage.
That's true.
Speaking different languages all from Fako.
That's true.
It's an opportunity to show that diversity, that strength that we have, that we are diverse, but we are united. Mm-hmm. So the Mbando comes in reinforcing that whole Fako man. And besides, it's also, right now, it's politically expedient for us to show our unity. I see in other places they are doing their Grand Sawa, they are doing the Grand North. This is time for Grand Fako to show that the Fako man is united and we can also hold political positions because we have the critical mass.
Your Majesty, we are in a social media era, and many persons say it is the Android generation. What role can these social media play in helping these youths get into the cultural activities of their various clans and even the Bakuri people?
I have 3 little children. They are somewhere deep in the United States that you don't know. But they all speak Mokwe because of social media. Because they have classes that they take online every Saturday where they teach them Mokwe. We have managed to use social media as a way of spreading our culture and teaching the language. There are WhatsApp groups only for the teaching of the Bakuri language. And those are really doing very, very well. There are WhatsApp groups for explanation of parables in Mokwe. I have written several stories on Mokwe land which have gone through and have helped spread the word about the Mokwe people and the Mokwe language. So I think in the era of social media, we are really using it to our advantage. I can tell you something. Before the year 2000, there was only one person who was writing Bakuri online. It was called Tata Mbando. And because the Bakuri alphabet was not really standardized, it was really hard to understand what he was writing. And he only communicated that through email, because then there was no WhatsApp, there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram, and there was no TikTok and X.
Skype and all the others.
X, you know. So, but after that, when the boom came, when WhatsApp, TikTok, Twitter all came out, the language is being learned more aggressively now, and more people are writing Bakuri now because we have a reference point now. We've come out with the Bakuri alphabet, which we call Libu and Jambo Mokwe, that we are using to teach the Bakuri. The Bakuri Bible was actually to be launched this Saturday. We have a New Testament fully written in the Mokwe language. So we've used social media really to advance our tribe and our culture in more ways than you can think. I know people who have never met Mula Mongombe in person, but they've watched his music and watched him dance, and they're also dancing Mokwe now from different angles. Okay. So we are using the Android presence more for our benefit than for any other thing, any other distracting thing that you think we are using it for.
Now let's look at bringing the youths into this Mbando. What can be done to bring these youths? We know a lot of them are out there. Some of them don't want to. They've heard the stories. They are looking more at the spiritual side of Mbando. They've forgotten the social and all the other aspects and the cultural part of Mbando. How can we convince them to keep aside the spiritual side and look at the other benefits?
Right. So the people who have the responsibility of dealing with the spiritual part are just the chiefs. No other person will get involved in that spiritual part. And I want to assure you that if there was any spiritual thing that the Mokwe does that is bad, I will not be there. Anything we do in the spiritual realm is for protection of humanity, for the forward movement of our tribe, and for the protection of things that we find dear to us. I encourage everybody to come and join. There's a lot to gain from the Mbando. The spiritual part of past you will not even know. The one for last year, I don't think any of you knew what even happened. So that's part of the secrecy of our tribe. We are all spiritual human beings. As much as we have taken flesh, we are also spirits. And so we cannot neglect that part of our culture. That's why we have a Pasamoto and Yengulang Manja, Nyangonang Mana. Yes. See, those are all our spiritual parts of our tribe. Mm-hmm. We have to protect it as chiefs. That's why they call custodians of the culture. The word custodians from the word custody. Yes. And if they tell you that you're police custody, you know what that means. So we are holding the culture in custody so that it doesn't change, it doesn't morph, it doesn't disappear. But every son and daughter of Mokweland, this is an opportunity for you to come and identify yourself with your people. They say a child may wander far, but its umbilical cord always remains at home. If you abandon your tribe, your culture, you become a slave to another man's culture. Come and identify with your people. It's an area of strength. It's an opportunity to demonstrate that you know where you are. If you don't know where you come from, it's hard to know where you are going to. So I encourage every youth to come and join, and let's celebrate who we are.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to the paramount ruler of Buea, His Royal Majesty Dr. Robert Isukambila Endeley, the Nalium of the Bakwiris. And at this juncture, we shall be taking you to another aspect, which we call the Joker question before we take our leave from this platform. Your Majesty, looking at the youth involvement while you were really younger and that of now, what are the disparities? What can you bring? What can you say is gone? What can you say has come in? What differences can you make from it?
That's a very good question. A lot of things have happened. The world has changed a lot in the last 20 years, and it has affected us as Mokwe people too, without sparing us, of course. When it comes to the youth, I think that there's more involvement now. There's more eagerness for people to learn the Mokwe language than before. I learned Mokwe while I was in America. That's very surprising. Well, already as an adult. Because when I went there, I found more people who were interested. And through social media and the internet, we could communicate more easily and get things across. So the awareness of the language is more now than it was when I was much younger. Granted, now, children now don't really speak Mokwe anymore. I mean, the younger ones, they speak only English. Mm-hmm. My driver, who has not even gone to Form 4, Form 5, who is a 100% Mokwe boy, speaks English to his son. This is a man who doesn't even know how to speak English. Speaking English to his own son, which is an opportunity for him to teach Mokwe. And the son doesn't, of course, speak Mokwe, speaks but English and corrects the father's English. That look at you, that you don't even know how to speak in English. It's such an irony. It's such an irony that we are missing a big opportunity. The children would always learn English. I have lived in the US. I've seen Chinese families where they've never spoken one letter, one word to their children in English. They only speak Chinese in their house. The Yorubas do the same, but all the children speak English because they'll learn it from TV. They'll learn it from school. It's a given that they'll learn. The other thing I found out with our children now is that in our court dances, there's a lot of waywardness in our court dances. If you are a juju man in Bakuri and you're in juju, you understand what I'm saying. The children who are getting in the court dance, they are very wayward. And that's an ailment, an illness, a cancer that we are fighting for, because that is diluting the depth and the mysticism in some of these court dances, like Anganya. I mean, the children now, they do things that our parents never taught us to do. And I've called the elders and I've asked them to put these children back on the right path. Because if not, what will be danced tomorrow as Nganya is not Nganya that I grew up knowing. And that is one aspect of the culture that should not change. There's some things that it's okay for them to evolve, but there are some that just do not change. And that is one part. So I'm really begging on our young people who are getting into court dances to abandon drugs. The juju and drugs don't work very well. Juju and drunkenness don't work very well. So when we are coming to these things, please abandon some of these things and come and enjoy your culture in the field. After we have performed, it's time for the juju to go and rest, and then we drink alcohol and enjoy everything else.
The paramount ruler told us he learned how to speak Bakwiri in America. And at this juncture, he's going to be talking to us, talking to his people, talking to the young. He's going to give them a message in Mukwe. Your Majesty, your people are listening.
Onyamwe koko igbe maura ya unu yumwele neema owaraloya ailo mwanyuna omene na ralivele unyanyangu imbera imailo anureo kaja javako na elmajobe mbando imailo vako elo elija elo woro na ralateke unyanyangu neema inyoare ewure na ema ilembe nembando jaruja jamokwe jende nembando uworo evanje mbando yonde ele mokwe onje tembando
Nanu. We've heard the paramount ruler, and that message goes to the Mokwe people who have heard. If they say, Pikiwe get ear, he must hear. Pikiwe no ear, he enter grave. So let us be one another's keeper. We shall continue this talk with youths and some of our elites in Fako. But for now, we are going to be leaving the paramount ruler who might have other things to do. So, my people, call me the small man with a big name, Ekemanjoko. We shall continue the next part in a few minutes.